Dear friends of love for volleyball, amor por el voleibol, I am pleased and honored to talk today with one of the most important players in history, Olympic champion Atlanta 1996, World League champion the same year, chosen as most valuable player in various championships, founder of the Bas van der Goor Foundation. I mean, Bas van der Goor from the Netherlands, who is currently with us talking today about volleyball and his life. Hello, Bas, how are you?
Very good. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Fantastic. And first of all, please tell me when and why did you choose volleyball as your sport?
Well, I was 9 years old when some friends from my classroom joined the local club, and I did some other sports. I played some soccer, judo. I had my swimming diplomas, so I just figured out to try volleyball. So that's why I joined volleyball. And I also did some tennis afterwards, but at the end, the only sport I continued playing from like when I was 14 years old was volleyball.
Okay, fantastic. And tell me, please, I know in the Netherlands, your country, also my country, soccer, football is very important. How was it for you?
Well, of course, soccer is the number one sport in the Netherlands, and we are quite known for like pretty good, as you see, like during the Olympic medal list during the Olympics, we are like 10, 15 of the world. So sports is quite important in the Netherlands, but soccer is the most important. We have some cyclists who are very well. And I think sometimes we have, of course, some sports who are more on television because they perform well. We had such a period during the 90s of last decade where volleyball, the Dutch national volleyball team was performing quite well. So we were a lot of it on television, and because we were playing European championships and World championships, and Olympic games, and always were one of the teams who participated till the end. People were watching, and it was volleyball quite big. But I think it's not doable for us to try to beat soccer in media attention.
It's a world issue. I know
Yeah,
everywhere. And tell me, Bas, how was your first years as a player in Netherlands? I know, and when you started to play, there was a lot of players and teams doing some very important things around the world and in Europe. I have the opportunity, as I told you before, to talk with Peter Murphy, Job Albert, and Ron Sverver, who played with you. How was it for you when you started? Do you have, for example, some players you wanted to emulate or play like them? How was your first years as a volleyball player?
Well, I'm from 71. So when I was 15 years old in 86 in the Netherlands, we started like the volleyball era. So this means that a lot of good players came together, and they were subtracted from the national competition and only trained together to be a team which could try to win the Olympics in '92 in Barcelona. So for 6 years, in '86 I was 15, so they were my idols. I wanted to be like them, and one player in particular was Jan Postuma. Postuma, he was the middle blocker, and he was as tall as I am, 2 meters and 9 centimeters.
Yes.
6'10", 6'11", and I watched him a lot, and of course, like Ron Zwerver was the go-to guy for the Netherlands, by far the best player. So of course I enjoyed him, watching him. And then when I was like 18, 19 years, I started thinking about making the team, maybe, but it was too early for me to participate the team for the '92 Olympics. I was just 20 years old. It was too young. And after the Barcelona silver medal, when the team was shaken upside down by Joop Alberda, the new trainer, he gave me the possibility to join the team. So for me, like the big player in the Netherlands for me was Jan Postuma, and worldwide, of course, the Italian players were like idols, and Joel Bespeña was like a big name at the time.
Yes.
And we also had like a spectacular Swedish player, Bengt Gustafsson,
Exactly.
and he was like an explosive phenomenon. Yeah.
Yes, yes, incredible. As I told Ron and other Dutch person from volleyball, I had the opportunity to play as a Chilean junior national player in 1985 in Italy, where I met the national team from Netherlands, where Ron Swerver, Edwin Bene, Henk den Held, many from the good players from the, as I told, the golden era of volleyball of your country started. And I was very shocked because of the height of the tallness of your team.
Yes.
And Job told me this, Peter, also that you have a mix of experienced players like Avital Seilinger, Marco Brouwers, but a good group, and these new guys from this generation. And also you were a little younger, but you play with a team that changed volleyball around the world. For me, for example, I love volleyball from the 80s because there was no libero. You as a middle blocker, you could attack from the 3-meter line. It was a very different volleyball, maybe
Absolutely.
a little slower, maybe as the actual volleyball. But for me, it was a very beautiful volleyball. And how was it for you to? Because I saw some videos where you played as an outside hitter. Why did you play as outside hitter or a middle blocker? What was the story for?
Yeah, it's really good to hear you say the names Bert Goedkoop, Michael Brouwers, and Avital Seilinger. Those were the three who really lit the volleyball candle in the Netherlands. I mean, they really started the dream of winning Olympic gold. And they played with 3 other players, and like the switch of those teams was kind of rare because normally, like there are players entering once, 2 players, 3 players, but this team changed completely. You had like the A team and the B team, and the A team made with the old guys, and when they and they were beaten during practice by the young guys, but like during the game, the old guys were still playing. And then at once they played a match with the young team, and they really destroyed the Bulgarian team, big. And that was the turnover. From that point, the young team was not the B squad, but the A squad. And for me, I played with for me when I entered the team, like Blanger and Zwerver and Held, they were like the big names. And for me, it was like an honor to be part of the team who won the Olympic silver medal in '92. But that the ambition was to win gold. So like the old guys went on to go for like the second possibility to win gold. For me, it was really nice to be the young guy, being adapted well in the team, and be able to be at my best in the team is already quite good. They had like the right minds on the head of the squad, so it was very interesting and very learning experience for me.
And I think I mentioned this to Job or Peter, I can't remember, because in this time in Chile or maybe the world, we thought that people from Netherlands were also cold-minded, like German. They play, make a point like the Russian, and didn't shout. They had an ice face. But I saw your team play. I saw the videos, and your team were always on fire. We were always fighting, shouting, like the Italians, like the Brazilians. And we saw this, especially, obviously, in Barcelona, where your team played against Brazil in this crazy final. And also after this in Atlanta, where you played, and you won a so great team, the Italian team, in I think one of the best men finals of the time against Italy. And tell me, please, how was this story for you in Atlanta?
Well, sometimes we are cold as ice, and sometimes we were on fire. And the thing running was that we wanted to be cool, of course. So sometimes we wanted to be cold as ice, but we couldn't hold ourselves in. So we just tried to express our feelings, and it was really fun playing. I mean, we had a setter, Peter Blanchet, and he was really creative, a player, and he
Fantastic
really
player, yes.
served all his attackers quite well. So for me personally, it was like a joy playing with him. I think he was. I had the luck to play with the two best setters of the era. I think Fabio Vullo.
Yes.
And so I played 8 years
Italy.
with Fabio Vullo in Italy with my club team, and I played 8 years with Peter Blanchet in the national team. So I was a lucky middle attacker. And then, of course, we came from second place, or like they came from second place in Barcelona. So then some new guys joined the team, and we continued being second for like a few years. We were second in the European Championship in '93, losing to Italy. We were second in the World Championship final, losing to Italy. We were second European Championship in '95, losing to Italy. So when we went to the final in '96 against Italy, you can imagine that for us it was like really all or nothing, all in. So it was really, that was the only match I ever played, which I had stomach pain. I couldn't sleep. I ate nothing. So and it was like a 3-hour match. So it was really, really to the maximum. I fully agree. By far the most impressive match I ever played. Of course, on the podium like this, it's so close. Winning the biggest trophy possible in volleyball is of course great. And I want to recall the amount of respect we have between the two teams, because we were playing orange against blue in the summer, but in the winter we played yellow against the red. It was like a lot of international players played in Treviso and in Modena. So we saw each other day in, day out, the year around, and this was quite special. So you know, it was like a match of chess. I mean, they know that I know that they know that I'm gonna do this after 10 points. So it was nerve-wracking. Yeah.
Absolutely, and as you told me before, it was like the A team against the B team playing against one in a training,
Yes.
because you know each one so good, so closely. You have good friendship, so it was a so impressive final to watch and to overwatch. And sometimes we can hear the commenters from Netherlands, and he's shouting, he's so excited. Sometimes I see a commenter from Mexico. I can't remember, but it was a so beautiful volleyball exhibition. And for me, as I told you, it was one of the best finals I could ever see.
We had a really special honor, because this moment was voted like the sports moment of the century. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. No, it was fantastic. And also, I always also like seeing the Dutch fans in the stadium with these orange shirts and hats. It's very, I think, for a player, it's very emotional to see your kind landsmen with you, shouting with you, supporting you. It's a fantastic feeling. I know this. And tell me, please, Bas, and continuing with your sport career, you told me you play in Italy. How was this for you as a professional player?
Well, I came from like the Dutch competition, where it was I mean, there were no professional players. Honestly, there were amateurs, and some were paid a little bit, but like this was not like a real job. I mean,
Yes.
I tried to study during my first 5 years at the club in the Netherlands. Then I went to Italy, and things changed. Of course, the last 2 years I played in the Dutch club Dynamo. I was playing also in the national team, so I knew what was asked at the highest level. But then in Italy, things changed quite a bit, because for the first time you are making money, and you have to earn your contract. You have to show that they gave you money, and you have to deliver. So this was new for me. And the level and the amount of preparation into a match was totally different than in the Netherlands. I think I can say that technically I learned to play volleyball, but tactically how to approach a match, how to make a plan and try to beat the opponents. This was done by the Italians, the best in the world I've seen. Because sometimes you go and play a match, and you see during warm-up spikes on the other side of the net, and you ask yourself, how is it possible that we're going to win?
Yes.
We play against 12 Supermans, and then at the end you win. And if you see Italy, they were like, okay, warming up, and you say, well, we have a good chance against these guys, and then the game starts, and they touch everything, they play defense, and they are really working quite well tactically. So that was for us very difficult to play Italy. But I think we played all in Italy, so we learned how to approach the game in this point of view.
Yes.
And I think we used it also a little bit to beat them.
Yes, you knew them very well.
Yes.
For me, it's always, I told this many times, because in the 80s there were not so much teams tall as your team, or as the Bulgarian or Russian teams, and there was always a misbelief that tall players were bad in defense, and it was absolutely contrary. Your team had a very good defense. The Dutch team, obviously, and the Italian professional teams. You saw players like you, 2'9", players from 2 meters, to play a very good defense. So volleyball was changing. Obviously, the size, for example, of the setter were bigger as Peter Brangier. He's 2'5". In my times, to think I as a setter from the side, it was very impossible. We always saw a setter like the Argentinian Waldo Cantor, or William da Silva from Brazil. They were 1985, 84. That's what was the normal size of a setter. But volleyball was changing, and also you. And tell me, please, Bas, how was your evolution after the national team, after being a volleyball player? Tell me, please, what happened to your life, and why did you start this foundation that I mentioned in the beginning of this conversation?
Yes. So when I played 8 years in Italy, and then I had I'm not sure how to say it in English, but I had a TIA, which is like a blood cloth in your brain.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And that forced me to be doing nothing in 6 months. I decided to turn home again, to go back to the Netherlands and play there for another 3 years. And during this 3-year period, I developed diabetes type 1. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. So for me, it was like a question: what does that mean for me, for my life, my athlete career? And it turns out that it could be I could do everything. So there was no problem continuing playing volleyball. But afterwards, I at 34, 35, I stopped playing volleyball because of other reasons than my type 1 diabetes. So I started a foundation, foundation, which has the mission to enhance quality of life for people with diabetes, exercise and sport. And so we are organizing a lot of activities for kids and adults with type 1 and type 2 diabetes, and try to let them experience what the positive benefits are for use to be active and to do sports.
And
I'm right now in my office.
okay.
The logo.
The logo.
Yeah.
And why did I think the connection is a little slow? Do you see me?
I can still.
Okay. Yeah, and I was wondering, why did you start thinking to create a foundation? Because I know to create a foundation is a tough work. It's not easy to do. Why do you start thinking? Okay, I have this diabetes. I want to share with people who also have this condition and tell them via sport they can make a better life. Why did you think, and how was it possible to do this?
Well, because there are like two types of diabetes type 1 and diabetes type 2, like 90%, and this is worldwide, 90% has type 2 diabetes. And type 2 diabetes, a lot of times is seen as it happens with people who are overweight and are old, but type 1 diabetes is also diabetes, but it's like type 1 and it's completely different. So and most of the people who were diagnosed with type 1 diabetes were diagnosed when they were kids, and they're not overweight and they're not old. They just have like this autoimmune disease. And this means that during the day we have to control manually our blood glucose levels. This means that if we go for a walk, if we eat something, if we experience stress, if we put in insulin, our glucose levels vary. And so we have to manage this. And this is like every minute, every quarter, every hour, we have to just think about, okay, is my glucose level okay? And sports has like a really positive effect. And so in the beginning, I was wondering, I was helped with my doctors and with the team. So I got a lot of help, but not everybody gets the same help as I got. So I just wanted to share the experience I had and see the positive effect of being active when you have type 1. And I met the right person at the right moment, which is my colleague right now, Petra. And together we started thinking about creating a foundation, and it worked out. We are still partners, like say business partners, but we run the organization. We are working with 15 people right now, and we are organizing great stuff in the Netherlands. So I'm really happy that before sport was playing, the motivation to do sport was trying to be the best. And now the motivation to do on sport is trying to stay healthy. And that's the difference. Yeah.
It's so important. I'm 52 years old and I try to get back to make sport because of the pandemic. It has a very dramatic effect on many people, also mind health. But was that you are telling that sport is for health is so important. Because in our age, I want to play again volleyball. Here in Chile, we have a lot of senior leagues. It's not about to win. If you win, it's fantastic, but it's to make sport, to be with friends from school, and to think we can play as we were 18 years old. It's impossible. We will never jump as a sport again.
It's really important to know what the motivation is, because if you are 70 years old, you can still try to get the best out of yourself. That's cool. But if you're trying to put someone like this together with somebody who wants to just be active and be social, it's not going to work out. So you have to find out what the motivation is, and if you put people together who are trying to be active because it works well for their health, that's great. Please continue. But if you want to be the best, I think that's also great. Good.
Exactly. And getting a little back to volleyball, to your career, I read somewhere that sometime Jupp Alberta referred to you as the Michael Jordan of volleyball. Why do you think he told this?
Wow. Yeah, I heard that. Like, that's like the biggest compliment you can get as a team athlete. I think he was the greatest team sports athlete ever. I was a big fan of him. So you make me shy telling this. I'm not sure. I think, well, what I really liked playing volleyball is being spectacular and functional together. So it was important not to be just functional or just spectacular. If you can manage to combine both, that will be best. And maybe that's what he saw in what I did. I think the rest of the answer you have to get with Job Abada because everything I say can be explained in
I will ask him.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's the biggest compliment possible. Yeah.
That's so great. And tell me, please, Bas, you have a brother who also plays volleyball. And how is your perspective about volleyball today in Netherlands with your brother and all? As I see many championships you make in Netherlands with the family at school. How's your impression of what the Dutch Federation are doing during pandemic and after the pandemic?
Well, I think my brother is fine. He is out of the sports world completely. He does something else right now. He's very happy. And I am right now. I'm in my office, which is on the Dutch National Olympic Training Center. When I go to lunch with my colleagues, I'm next to the Dutch women volleyball team who are training right now over here. I think the men's team will come very soon. And I think that we are doing quite well. The difficulty is a little bit that we won 26 years ago a gold medal.
Yes.
All the matches or the championships where they compete in are compared to 96.
Yes.
That's not fair. So if they would be in top 8, they did once in the World Championship a few years ago. That's like a really huge success.
Yes.
And I think the Netherlands is quite good in organizing volleyball events. So, for example, in a couple of months, we have the World Championship volleyball indoor for women.
Exactly.
I am like the host together with Vlier, international from the women team, and we are looking forward to invite all the teams to the Netherlands and start playing the World Championships. So and during the pandemic, I think the Dutch Volleyball Federation really stepped up and took initiative to see being active and being healthy as one of the responsibilities also of one of the sports federation. And they were like the first general manager and the technical manager, technical director, the sports director, they all stepped up and told the Netherlands, well, it's time to change and to see, like in this COVID period, exercise as the new norm. Move more and take care of themselves. And I think it's like a social point which they made, and now they are seen as one of the front runners to not only be caring about volleyball, but also take responsibility for people being healthy.
Fantastic to know. I mentioned also many times that my intention with this conversation with people like you is to honor volleyball history, to honor not also the sportsmen, also the person behind the team, behind the lights of the sport, because not everybody knows that after, for example, a gold, there's so much effort, there's so much work, there's so much training, so much that people from high-level sport take aside, for example, family life or any other things. So my intention is always to be in contact with people as you, to know you, to also to show the young people today that before today there was so much volleyball in the 90s, the 80s, 70s. I had the opportunity to talk with a Chilean volleyball player. He plays in the 50s, and this time there were also many volleyball players, many people in gyms watching volleyball. And as a lover of volleyball, I love volleyball. I played as a young player. I want to play again. I'm so happy to be in contact with you, with many other sports cracks of the world. And for example, I receive sometimes a message from Alexander Savin or from Cecilia Taid from Peru, from Bernard Rachman. For me, it's a dream come true. So I want to continue making this kind of conversation because I know we are getting a little more away from this to closure as the pandemic obligates us. We are more on the streets. But I think this kind of videos of conversation are very important to share and to communicate what we are doing, what we are learning. And I also was very interested in talking with you, Bas, not only because you were an Olympic champion, because you make this foundation. I think it's so important to communicate and to share your experience and make sports a way of life and to help people. I think it's so fantastic what you're doing. I want to finally thank you again and again for your time, for your kind words. And my invitation is to keep in touch. I know we can keep making things together, to talking together. I want to know what you're doing with your foundation, what will sport in Netherlands do with the World Championship, and also all the projects you are developing us. So many thanks, Bas, and it was an honor to talk with you.
Well, as we speak, like in 20 minutes, the ticket sales for the World Championship start. Okay. So that's a really good timing. So the people who are listening to or watching this video, they know they can go to the World Cup site in the Netherlands and start ordering tickets if they like. I can imagine that there are a lot of Chilean people watching, but maybe also from around Europe, and they have possibilities and time to visit us. It was really great talking to you, Alfredo, and thank you for the invitation. I hope you get a lot of more interviews from my former colleagues and from the periods of the 90s and the 2000s. So good luck for your work. Fantastic.
You must help me with this. Put me in contact with all these players. Many thanks, Bas.
I will. So please let me know. I will help you.
Fantastic.